All right, thank you for joining us for the meeting. Bear with me while I... all right, meeting on December 21st. We will get started. Madam Clerk, if you would... I'm sorry. I call to order the meeting. I don't get to do this very often, forgive me. It looks like we're going to start with the invocation. So if everybody would stand and join us. Lord, thank you for the ability to gather and serve in your name. We thank you for the blessings you've given our community. We thank you for the people, the businesses, the residents, the resources. We ask that we find joy and peace through you this season. In Jesus' name we pray. Now for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, if you'd call the roll.
President Roth,
Here.
Mr. Peel,
Here.
Mr. Young,
Here.
Mrs. North, Mr. Van Houten.
Here.
President Roth, we do have a quorum present.
Thank you. Just a quick note, Mayor Berkey unfortunately had an unexpected family situation, was not able to be here. So I'm going to do my best to try to fill in. Next, I wanted to read a quick short item here of some events that happened, and then I'm going to have a proclamation. Just before midnight on October 21st, Mr. Vince Longo was letting his dog out and noticed smoke from a neighbor's home. Without hesitation, he ran barefoot to the home and began ringing the doorbell and making noise to alert the neighbors of the danger. The neighbors awoke and were unaware of their house was on fire. Everyone made it out safe and no life was lost. Mr. Longo continued to provide care for that family by bringing shoes, jackets for the family standing outside. It's my understanding he also brought breakfast and coffee the next morning to check on them. So I'd like to make a proclamation recognizing the heroic act of Mr. Vince Longo in the city of Spring Hill, Kansas. Whereas a tragic fire occurred at the home located in 100 block of North Washington Street, and whereas Mr. Longo rushed to the aid of the structure's inhabitants to alert the residents of the danger, and whereas the potential of the loss of human life in this fire was great, but no such loss occurred, and whereas the actions of Mr. Longo coming to the aid of the structure's inhabitants were over and beyond the call of duty and deserving of the admiration and acclaim of their peers. Whereas when these heroic efforts are shared and recognized, it is not about bringing attention to the person, but bringing attention to the act and honoring the positive outcome while recognizing what could have been. And now, therefore, I, Diana Roth, Council President of the City of Spring Hill, Kansas, do hereby proclaim Vince Longo be hero of the City of Spring Hill, Kansas on December 21st, 2023, in witness of I have hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of the City of Spring Hill, Kansas to be affixed on this 21st day of December 2023. It's my understanding that Mr. Longo is here, is that correct? If you would want to come forward and absolutely deserve it.
Thank you. Good man. Just
Thank you.
Well done. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Having people like that in the community is definitely an absolute must for small communities like this. So thank you very much for what you did. Next item, we have the consent agenda. Assuming there's no changes or additions, entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So move. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4 0-0. Next is formal council action. Consider approval of resolution 2023 dash, I don't have that, bear with me. I don't have the resolution number.
-R-31.
31, thank you. Authorizing first amended and restated development agreement, Wiswell Farms Rural Housing Incentive District. Mr. Ellsworth.
Good morning, council. As you all are aware, we entered a development agreement, the city entered a development agreement a year ago with Ad Astra Land Holdings, which is an entity owned by Mr. Chris Colson. And the purpose of that development, there were several purposes, but in essence, the agreement spells out sort of a cooperative arrangement between the city and Mr. Colson's companies to extend Webster Road from 191st to 199th, construct and finance certain related infrastructure, and also construct and finance certain infrastructure in the Wiswell Farms residential subdivision. And so, based on really the cooperative arrangement that development agreement set up, and the way that the Webster Road improvements and the related infrastructure improvements have come together over the course of the last 12 months, we've identified project costs and have had to reallocate how those costs are financed from the different sources of funding here. You'll recall that there's a base grant that the city received from the state of Kansas. There is a benefit district, and there's benefit district financing. And really what this amended agreement does is reallocate the order in which some of those costs will be paid, the way in which the city and Mr. Colson will be reimbursed from these various funds. I think it's important to mention that we are not increasing the amount of public dollars going into this project. It's really truly just a reallocation once we've identified some of those additional costs that have emerged over the last 12 months. So I do want to commend city staff and the developers team over the last 1 to 2 weeks of really coming together, hammering out an amendment that I think is fair to both parties. And a representative of the developers team, Joe Oakes, with the Polsonelli Law Firm, is here if there are any questions for the developer. But with that, I'm happy to answer any questions from council or anyone else.
Just to be clear, this isn't, just so everyone is aware, this isn't changing anything on our behalf as far as what is due out of pocket per se.
That's correct. That's correct. There's no increase in the city's contribution. And really, the city's not really coming out of its own pocket for these improvements. I mean, between the base grant that was awarded and the benefit district financing, really these costs will be assessed back to the homeowners or paid from the property tax increment generated by the new development here. So that's correct.
The way these are broken out as far as the reimbursements go, does that include any of the new reimbursements that we found, or is it?
It does. That does include the new.
Does that
reimbursements.
that include some of the old ones that were already kind of allocated to?
Both.
Okay.
Yes.
So is there a spot where it's broken down on what we decided as far as what was gonna come from savings on one and?
There's not a clear roadmap where that happens in the agreement because the different parts are kind of blended. You'll see that there's an adjustment to the developer's base grant eligible reimbursement in the appendix of definitions. There are additional adjustments to the priority for payments and what those reimbursements are in, I think it's Articles 3 and 4, maybe Article 5 of the agreement. So there's not one place where you see all that, but those different moving parts have been blended into the amendments that are part of the agreement.
Okay. Do we have, which of these letters are new compared to old?
I'm sorry, say that again. Oh,
On these,
in the red line,
Yeah,
the blue type is that reflects additions to the original agreement.
I guess I'm looking at the wrong page. Which one is that? Where's the colored portion?
Oh, Are you looking at the clean version or the red line version? There's a red line version in the packet.
I think I'm looking at the clean version.
Okay.
Just items A through G that,
Yes.
just want to make sure I understand.
Yep.
The red line starts on page 83.
Oh, so I can go down and find it.
It's quite a lengthy.
I know, I was like, the page I found didn't have any marks in it.
But yeah, in the red line version, I'm not sure which page it is, but it's section 203
Okay.
that outlines those additional infrastructure costs.
They look right, I just wanted to double check.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
Jeez.
Anybody have any further questions or discussion?
I'm good.
That answered my question.
Okay. Entertain a motion?
Let me get back to it. 31? Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you. Move to adopt resolution number 2023-R-31 approving the execution and delivery of a First Amendment and restated development agreement, Wiswell Farms Rural Housing Incentive District.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you, Mr. Ellsworth.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next, we have consider of approval of year-end transfers. Ms. Dunn.
Good morning. Still morning, I guess. The first item that I'm asking you to consider is approval of the year-end transfers from the general fund to other funds. And if you'll, there we go. Thank you, ma'am. I wanted to go over a few numbers with you, so I want to put them up on the screen so you're not just hearing me run through numbers. The cash balance at the beginning of the year in the general fund was $1,729,968. The current or to date improvement in the budget or compared to budget revenue is basically $405,000 better than we budgeted. That's primarily due to sales tax. And then expenses are running $534,000 under budget. So the surplus we're looking at for 2023 is $939,000 from the 2023 budget, which is on par for where we're expecting things to happen. In the consent agenda tonight, you approved some encumbrances. These are items that have been approved or ordered in 2023, and we're expecting them to be delivered, or they've been delivered and we haven't seen an invoice and things like that. So we want to make sure that we encumbered these items for the auditors, so we know that they'll get paid out of 23. So in addition to the expenses, we'll have the $83,500 in encumbrance. There will be other expenses that will come along and revenue. The sales tax isn't in. I did update alcohol tax today for these numbers, but we will see other revenue yet as well over the next week.
Can we go back to that?
Yeah.
What's website?
We have issued an RFP to, I'll say, upgrade or update our website. And we are in that process right now. It was a budgeted item for 23, and it's not going to be completed in 23. So we want to encumber that money to make sure it gets completed and spent. That will come to you for approval. I believe it's under the threshold. It may not come in here, but typically we bring them in
Budgeted
and tell you.
30,000 for it.
Yes,
You haven't received any RFPs? Or-
yes, we have.
Oh, you okay?
Right. Kristen has worked that project. That's her project. And when she's ready, she'll bring it in for approval and plans and all.
And
those
they're all
things.
within that 30, it sounds like, if that's what you're budgeting.
I believe, she plans to spend, she said 25 to 30 would be the cost. So I did the upper end because there's always something we don't think of.
Yeah.
Never seem to have very many that come in less than we planned, so. Any other questions on that? So one of the transfers that we want to make is the employee medical reserve, insurance premium reserve, which was established last year. The premiums in the general fund are in general obligation and the police department, which total $932,000 is what is budgeted for 2024. And then our goal, this is our second year, so we want to have 2/3 of it in the reserve fund, which will be $624,493. The reserve balance at the end of last year was $359,32, so we need to transfer $273,561 to meet that target. In addition to that, we want to transfer from the water and the wastewater fund the insurance premiums for those employees into the reserve as well. And so I am suggesting, because those funds are more cash heavy than the general fund, that we transfer 100% of those premiums. We won't do it over the next 3 years. We'll make adjustments if it's significant in future years. So putting that all together, if we make the 273 transfer for medical, I'm also suggesting a transfer from the general fund to the facilities improvement fund of $100,000. In the past, we've done an equipment transfer, and we've really bought the equipment that we need. We bought a lot of equipment this year. We bought new vehicles this year, and so I don't think the need, we have some money left in the equipment fund, but I don't think the need is there. We have not done a lot of work on the city facilities like this building or the community center, facilities like that, say the Public Works building, one of those. So I'm recommending we make a transfer. Jacob has been working on, obviously he manages facilities, and he's been looking at the projects that need to be completed, and then we would determine how that would be spent in '24.
Would that facilities category, would that include the aquatic center?
No. The aquatic center, I'll come back in '24. We budgeted a $50,000 transfer from the sales tax fund to the general fund for repair or improvement to the aquatic center.
Okay.
Actually, I said it was a little quick. Yes, it could be spent on Shack if you wanted it to. That is, we have another plan for that. But if that's where it needs to go, that's where it'll go.
Did you say shack?
Oh, I do say Shack. Spring Hill Aquatic Center. I shack a lot in this operation,
I'm
so,
not calling it anything else now.
yeah. So with those transfers and the budget surplus we have, what we'll leave behind in the general fund is $481,805, making the new general fund balance estimated at this time to be $2,211,773. So at the end there, I wanted to let you know why we're doing this, and that is that we have a goal, a cash target of 50% of the operating budget being held in cash reserve. Sorry. So that we won't have to finance every project or emergencies that happen. So the 2024 expense budget that was approved for the general fund was a total amount of $10,027,650. Of that, there is the cash at the beginning of the year is budgeted in that expense budget, and so I take it out. And I also take out the transfers. Those are not things that would happen if we were cash short for some reason, leaving a net 2024 expense budget of $8,070,424. If we have a 50% cash target, our goal would be $4,035,212. I think the transfers that we are making are in line with the priorities of the city, to have the medical reserve and to make improvements to facilities where we can, and then leaving the remainder to help with the cash target that we have of 50%. Can I answer any questions about that?
And your cash target is just the general fund, right?
That's
It doesn't
correct.
include the medical fund and all that,
Nope.
Alright,
which
Those-
is part of the actual expense budget,
Excuse me?
right? Because isn't the medical part of the expense budget?
It is. Oh, you're right. Yes, it is.
So shouldn't we be adding that into technically what the cash target is, or do you want to have a separate, or is the cash target separate from all the other funds?
It is separate from all the other funds.
Okay.
for example, with the cash target and the insurance being paid from the general fund, if something went completely haywire and we weren't able to make the premium payments, then we would take and transfer from the reserve fund to the general fund to make that payment. So we could combine them together.
But we're kind of doubling up, but I'm not, I don't have a problem with it. I just,
Right. Yes,
I just want to make sure I'm understanding.
And
You-
so that puts us a little over halfway to the goal cash that we
That's
want?
correct.
Okay. And what's our goal cash for the medical reserve? Like
It's-
in dollars?
it is a year's premium, which would be 1,100,000 is about the number.
1.1?
Yeah,
That's why we'll be
24.
at 2/3 now.
Okay, and so that, and the transfer that we're doing, or considering here, puts us at about 2/3 of that 1.1?
Yes,
Okay.
that is the target. And that balances the total of the 932, the 85, and the 104. So it's about 1.2 million.
Do you feel like we'll, a year from now, be able to fill that and have that reserve where we want it to be? And be able to focus on the other reserve as much as we, a little more? Right here, we're trying to fill 2 reserves,
Yes,
more or less. If you get one knocked out, then we can put excess into the other one.
right.
Yeah.
Yes, it is our goal, and yes, I expect that to happen. Our budget year in '24 will be different than what we've been used to. I don't think you'll see this big surplus
Yeah.
because we chose other things to spend it on.
Yeah.
I do expect that we'll build the cash reserve in the general fund, and we will build the medical reserve as we planned.
I say it optimistically,
Me too.
hoping that we'll have a surplus each time, but it may not be close to $1 million like what we had here.
Exactly. Exactly. I think you've approved a lot of great projects. We've approved a lot of funding. We have a lot of good things moving. I expect '24 to be a little slower year. Remind me of this about July. But, so that you kind of have peaks and valleys.
Yeah.
In the operation, we'll probably have a lower project activity in '24.
Well, and if that trend continues, which I think a lot of us believe it will in some format, when we get our reserves to where we want them to be, then those surpluses can go to other things, projects,
Yes.
different thing, It's just not real fun filling up a reserve,
No.
but
Money you hope you never need to
but
use.
vitally necessary at the same time.
Yes.
Nobody
you-
likes building up the savings account.
No,
It is.
They
You
wanna
like
spend
to, you don't want to dip in that savings, but it is there. And you can make, the council will make decisions about, oh, we want to do this project. Let's take some cash and do that if they choose to. I think that being conservative in budgeting brings us to today, which was our point, is let's not budget to spend every penny that we get. Let's budget conservatively, and then in the end, make conscious decisions about where that money should be used, and not, it just magically went away in a year's time. So I think we plan to be here today.
What's the balance in the capital facilities fund after that transfer?
196,000.
Okay, so it was sitting with 96.
I think you alluded to this, and I would agree with you. I would not plan on this being the case every year, so I would hate to have that mindset of planning on having this, especially this amount of
Right.
surplus every year.
Right.
I agree that I don't think that's gonna happen next year.
We made some significant budget changes, eliminated some positions that had not been filled, added the positions that were needed, set the right priorities, and we built a budget to accomplish those things, so. Without increasing the tax rate.
All right.
Are there any other questions, discussions? No? I would entertain a motion.
That's the wrong one. I make a motion to approve the 2023 interfund transfers.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 400. Thank you, Ms. Dunn.
Thank you.
It looks like you're on the next one as well. Next, we have consider approval of authorization to proceed with payoff of KDHE revolving fund loan for the water utility.
That's right. We are doing a little debt payoff in the water utility while there is cash available to do that. There were two outstanding debt items for the water fund. You've already approved the payoff of the 2016 A bond, and now we're looking at paying off more than a year early the KDHE revolving loan. The total amount due, sorry, I skipped it here.
190.
Yeah, it's $190,000. It saves us about $2,312 in interest. It was due to be paid off in 2025. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you have about that. It'll be paid off approximately 60 days from now, near the 1st of March. They need a 60-day window to calculate the final payments and things like that. This is a good thing. Our water utility will be free of debt.
Do we have a target percentage, kind of like we were just talking about with the other ones, of what the reserve is for water?
We would want to have approximately that same 50%.
Okay.
The same with the sewer fund.
$2,300 doesn't sound like a lot of money, especially when we're talking about some of those
Right.
things earlier, but it's all about perspective, and $2,300 is, it's a lot of money to me, so.
What's the, and also on top of that, what's the monthly payment or annual payment to this?
I will tell you, I did not look that up.
Cause you add that in too, I mean.
Right, there's a
also
cash,
a big savings
yeah,
there,
cash
too.
flow there.
Yeah.
More of them we can get knocked out the door.
Yeah,
I'll be honest, it's probably about half of 190,000. And so about 95,000, if that's 2 years of payments.
yeah.
That's just principal payments. The KDHE revolving loan is a really great funding mechanism because the interest rates are very low. And when this one was taken out, I think the interest on it's like two something,
Usually low single digits.
definitely.
Always
good
good when
thing,
we can
yeah.
save money
Yeah,
and get rid of debt.
and get rid of debt.
Yeah.
It's a 20-year loan, right? It's in 2004 is when this, 19 years, that we took out the loan, it's 19 years
Right.
ago.
And that's the beauty going forward. Hopefully we see, maybe not, this is the first one, maybe not the first one. This is,
We did one last month meeting too, I think.
well, but when we start to see all these loans fall off, it's,
Yeah. It also opens up the gap so that when you need to make funding decisions for other projects, we're not sitting near our ceiling.
it
Takes
frees
those
up
away. Yeah.
flexibility.
Pretty straightforward.
Great.
I would entertain a motion.
Move to approve proceeding with the payoff for KDHE loan number 2367 and direct the city clerk to sign the letter to Bureau of Water, Kansas Department of Health and Environment.
Second?
Got a first and second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Dunn. I guess that takes us to, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.